How you doing? It's Robert Nikelius here, and want to give you a big welcome to this little unannounced bonus that we've got. It's a very exciting little bonus because I'm going to show you, and we're going to show you the back sort of reasons why this works. So first of all, I'm going to show you the post that we did to, first of all, the first time I did it, I had absolutely no audience, and it did about $6,000 in sales. And then the second time we did it, we had a slightly bigger audience and it did $11,000 in sales. So it's a very easy post to make. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into the actual, there's a lot more that goes into it than just making the post. And that's why this video is a little bit longer than just like, oh, here's the post, go post it. So we're going to share with you why it works and then just the post itself. And you're going to meet my partner, Alan, and you're going to learn a lot of stuff that he knows, that he's picked up through the years of doing this so many times over. So really excited to have you here. Enjoy this little bonus. And yeah, without further ado, let's dig into the little Zoom call that we did with a couple of people in the group. They really enjoyed it, and hopefully you will too. So that's it. Let's go.
Ebooks with courses, reports or whatever. I don't know if you covered that in the presentation, Robert, but this is applicable to everybody, because the whole philosophical idea is to get to start a transactional relationship with the end lead, right? And so what a lot of people out there on the internet do is they have a non-transactional relationship with their audience, right? Meaning like they give away stuff for free all the time. And what ends up happening is, like, when you give away stuff for free all the time to everybody else, you have a non-transactional relationship. And then what ends up happening out of that is that if you want to ask for money or sell stuff or get paid for your services, it becomes very, very difficult, right? And so what you have to do in 2021 and going forward is you have to focus on having a transactional relationship, and that comes in the form of selling something, right? Getting a credit card on file. So I have a friend, he did like $400 million, right? And he's a young guy, he's like 28, super smart, like way better than I think all of us combined, actually, like just pure talent, right? And I asked him, I'm like, what's your philosophical strategy when it comes to running your online businesses? And he said something interesting, I'll never forget. He said, what I do is I like to get the credit card on file, right? And then once you have the credit card on file, everything else gets a lot easier from there, because you have that. And from that's how I came up with a transactional relationship. So you got to have the credit card payment or some type of thing on file. And so that way you have the right relationship with that person. So therefore there's an exchange of value going on, right? And so that's why we focus on $5 ebooks. And again, you don't have to do an ebook. You can do a course, you can do reports, you can do a $5 consultation for your agency. You can do like, branding re-strategy, and we'll talk about that. And you can do all sorts of stuff, right? And so that's the most important thing. And hopefully, I don't know what the presentation is going to hold because Robert put it together, but I'll chime in, see if I can offer my perspective on things to help you guys, take the next step implementing all this. No,
Yeah.
take it away, Rob.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And you guys are going to, Alan's been my partner for like 2 years now. He was sort of behind the scenes on the 2-Hour Agency, but is sort of the mastermind behind all of the marketing that we do. He's been around for a very, very long time. So you guys he's coming out of the shadows to share some value with you guys. He's done many, many millions online and knows this better than anybody else. So you guys really want to pay attention when he speaks. And I'm excited that you guys are going to get to hear his thoughts more and more. But today, it's kind of this is our first really time that we were like, all right, let's go put some value in the group for once. We've been kind of neglecting our group, and now that we launched this book, we did so, and we had an $11,000+ launch, selling $5 ebooks. And I was just like, people probably want to know how we do this, because, and I already know what your objection is to this. Oh, you guys already have a list, you already have a group. I did the same thing when I launched a 2-Hour Agency, when I had nothing but like 1,000 or 2,000 Facebook friends, where I was not really putting out content, and had a $6,000 launch. So before you even start painting that excuse in your head that we already have an audience, you should know that, of course, it helps to have an audience. But even though you think you don't, you actually might have a pretty good audience, of course, depending on what you're selling. But this is what we're going to be covering today, how we did an $11,000+ organic launch selling $5 ebooks with no ad spend. And we'll see where we end up, but that's kind of the direction we're going to take. And today's agenda is quite simple, and this is actually kind of always going to be our agenda. You'll see the slide every time we make a video, but the agenda is usually going to be something like this. We're going to cover a bunch of theories, all right, ideas that are going to help you, And then we're going to cover practical steps. So like, how do you actually implement the stuff that we're talking about? So the first thing that I wanted to talk about to kind of kick things off is I find that people have this preconceived notion in their head that other people don't want to buy stuff. That it's like, if you're asking somebody to give you money, that you're somehow doing them a disservice, or you're trying to get them to do something that they don't want to do. And I just wanted to make you guys realize that even from a scientific standpoint, like, people want to buy stuff from you. All right. And so the whole thing here is like, you should understand that people need your stuff, people want your stuff. And as I'm going to share with you in a second, there's also science, pretty basic science, that backs up this idea that people actually want to buy stuff. So that's what we're covering here today. And we'll share with you the practical stuff too, of like how to generate a couple of $1,000s with almost no audience. So regarding the science, yeah, go ahead.
I want to add one thing to that. Like, one thing is, like, people, Robert's right. People love to buy stuff, but on some level they hate to be sold, right? And as we go through this, I'll kind of add my perspective on that. And once you understand the distinction, it'll be a lot better. It'll
100%.
be easier for you guys. So remember that people love to buy stuff, but they hate being sold. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, so I found this source. I put it on the bottom, Sachin Rechke or something like that. You guys have heard of dopamine and serotonin, but there's even a thing they call it shopper's high, and it's like, dopamine is released in the brain when we expect a reward. And so when you're selling information, whether it's a book or a course or something like that, or a challenge or a scale for people to start their weight loss journey, they're going to get a dopamine hit. So there's science to prove that they actually want to buy your stuff. And serotonin, and Alan, by the way, knows a lot of this biological stuff. I just wanted to bring up the basics. But serotonin flows in the brain when we feel significant or important. So again, this all relates back to this idea that people want to buy your stuff. And if your stuff is any good, then they really want to buy your stuff. So if you're stuck in this mindset of like, because we work with people all the time, and we've had a very close relationship with like 60 people that we helped in our high ticket program, where we already had a couple of 7-figure case studies. We work with them very closely, and so we've kind of gotten a feel for, or a reminder rather, with about all of the limiting beliefs and all the mental baggage that people are dealing with on a daily basis. And it's like, so much of this stuff is just getting in your way. And if you could just put all of it aside and just do the work, you would actually have a pretty successful business a lot of times. So again, this is not meant to be like a master class in science, but I did want to make that big distinction that, people do want to buy your stuff. So never forget that. All right. Alan, anything to add here? We're going to talk more practical later on, but.
Yeah, I mean, people want to buy this stuff, but it's circumstantial though. Like, it gets deeper than that, right? I think, like, just looking at these two things is very limiting, I think. But you also got to get into like how it contextually plays in their life and stuff. But we'll get on that later. You just present, and then after the presentation, we'll kind of do what we like to do is like to do a fireside chat where we just talk, and like what ends up happening is like 2 minutes into the talk, like really, really great stuff comes out. That's not expected, and that's kind of seems to be the best way we kind of I can share, because you don't know where the thought is going to go, right? And so, like, let's just keep going, and then we can do a little bit of fireside chat.
Yes. And also, guys, as questions arise, by all means, just throw them in the chat. We definitely don't want the presentation. And by the way, this is how we're going to do all of our courses too. We're going to be teaching them live, because we found that when people are doing online courses, it's usually like a one-way thing, right? Where like a guy or a girl sits down and they put together a presentation, but there's no feedback loop. There's no questions from an audience. There's no asking for clarification. So a lot of this is just, when we have these slides, it's just a starting point. So we want this to be interactive. Throw your questions in the chat as they come up, and then we'll sort of get to them one at a time. Again, I touch a lot on the limiting belief stuff because I've seen it a lot, and I've probably dealt with it on different levels myself too. So just again, if you're sitting there with an idea or a book or a product or an offer, and you're like afraid of doing it because you're starting from zero, and we're gonna ask you to like, go create this book and then post about it on your wall, I know that people start thinking about all the negative stuff. Look, what if I post this and nobody's going to comment? What are the people going to think about me? And it's like, what's going to happen if you do this is potentially some good stuff might happen. And if you don't do it, well, nothing good's going to happen. Okay. One thing we talk about a lot is like when it comes to decision making, we find that a lot of people get stuck in indecision. And one thing that we've noted is there's value in making the right decision because you get the outcome that you wanted. There's value in making the wrong decision because you're typically going to learn something so that the next time around, you're actually going to be able to bring that lesson with you and make a better, more informed decision. Being stuck in the middle in no man's land with indecision, there's no value in that. There's nothing. And so that's kind of a big thing here is like, don't get stuck in this no man's land. Just do it, post your stuff, and then deal with what happens. Either you make a bunch of sales, a bunch of people want your stuff, maybe nobody comments, who cares? Okay. The important thing is to not get stuck in sort of no man's land and not do anything.
I think the big thing to think about this thing is like not just we have this concept we teach in the accelerator. It's called duality, right? So everything has two sides to it, because if you don't have two sides to something, it can't exist. And I think the big thing to think about is like, what are the consequences if you don't do it, right? And I've been doing this since 2004, right? And I've seen a lot of stuff come and go, and it's like big opportunities seem to open themselves like every 10 years or so, right? Like every 7 to 10 years, you'll have a window, opening where you can get in and do really well. And most people completely fuck that up. They don't take advantage of it. They don't jump in the opportunity. They don't go for it, right? And then that's the biggest consequence, because what people think of you doesn't really matter, right? It's like the truth is they don't really think much of you at all. Everybody's so self-centered these days that it's like, you're just like a fleeting thought in their minds, and if people comment or say anything, they don't really think things through, right? And so like, I'll tell you, like we had, like when we run ads, we have a lot of shitty comments on those ads. And you know what? It's like, these people, they have a problem, but that's their problem, right? Because we're making money. And so it's like, and we'll have people like on 2 Hour Agency, when we ran 2 Hour Agency, people were like, oh, your page is ugly, blah, 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 blah. And I would just respond. It's like, well, stay there to the money that we're making from it, right?
The funniest part was when people actually bought the book and then would go back and complain about how ugly the site was, whatever. But it's like, we got the outcome, what are you saying?
Yeah, exactly. So like the consequences of not doing it are far bigger than consequences of doing it. Because like the crazy thing of, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but the crazy thing about this whole thing we do is like, it's like we're selling thoughts, right? Like you put thoughts on a page, on a book, and you put some more thoughts together, and then you record those thoughts in a video, and then, you sell them, and then people give you, people you never met, people you never see, people you never heard of, people that don't know you exist, you don't know they exist, and somehow they find your page in this magical thing called the internet, and then they give you money, right? And then like 7-10 days later, they'll give you $5,000 to $10,000. And it's crazy. It's like, how can you not be enchanted by the whole process to have this ability to literally sit there, think stuff, imagine things, think them up, right? Put them together, run ads on this platform that, other people paid billions of dollars to create, and, to sell to people you'll never see, sitting at home in your underwear, etc. Some days, like I had some health issues lately, like my gut was bad, and I had to work in bed, like literally, like it's like worked in bed. It was great, like, so it's like
a lot harder professions out there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, this is not real work. We're just selling air, guys. I mean, it's like ridiculous, and people don't want to do it. And I'm like, man, it's like our fathers and our parents and grandparents, and mothers, they worked hard. Like, we don't really work hard. Like, look at this. Like, Monday, we're on this thing called Zoom. The other people spend millions of billions of dollars making, running, and we get it for like free. It's special. It's very special. And it's like, you really need to take advantage of this, like, while you can,
100%. And I just want to make a clarification. I know that Alan doesn't think this, but when he says we're selling air, by no means is he saying that you that you can sell crap. What he's saying is it's digital. It's a digital product. Like, we don't have to go out there and create something, which is a totally different story. We're just we're selling ideas and stuff that help people. You still got to be valuable. And I know he doesn't mean that, but I just want to make sure that nobody would interpret it that way, because if you guys don't know it already, especially Alan, what we're all about is really like going above and beyond what everybody else in your market is doing. So
yeah. When I say air, I just mean by like ether, things that you can't touch, right? Like abstract ideas, right? The other crazy thing is, like, you guys don't realize this, and this is like a small group here, but it's like, I started this in 2004, and like there was like a handful of us in America, right? And by 2010, there were some more people coming in. There wasn't that many people doing it, right? And we were like, I didn't realize then how lucky we were because, we were making a killing. And then now it's like, 2021, you got people from like, Russia, England, South America, Africa. I mean, you go to some of these copywriting boards, you see a bunch of people from Nigeria. And the interesting thing about people from Nigeria, they're like super smart. They're like really, really smart people. Like there's a lot of doctors that come out of there, like very intelligent people. They're doing this internet marketing stuff now. You got people from Mexico, Malaysia, like all over the world, they're doing it. And so it's like the competition is going to keep increasing. So you got to, stay ahead of the game. It's not like you have 10, 20 years, whatever, because, guess what? Like everybody has a phone on the planet, right? And internet. And so like everybody's becoming aware, and like more and more people are teaching and more people are doing it. And so again, it's like the opportunity won't be there forever. So you have to, you don't have a choice to move fast, or don't, you can just sit in the sidelines and be a spectator, enjoy watching everybody else play the game, which is fine too. But that gray zone of indecision, that's what kills you.
Yeah. There's a great quote regarding the spectator thing that really stuck with me. And I remember when I ran my first and only ultra marathon, I was like really, digging deep and really hurting. And this quote from The War of Art with, what's his name? Stephen Pressfield. The quote was like, it's better to be, what was the quote? It's better to be in the arena getting stomped by the bull than to be up in the stands or out in the parking lot. And I just really vibe with that quote. It's like so true. It's better to be in there, doing the game, getting punished by Facebook and losing money one day, making money the other day, and having maybe a bit of a roller coaster life, but going for your dreams and achieving them versus, just FOMO and just sitting around and watching other people. But I want to continue here, and I want a little bit of input from you guys. Tell us, like, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to this stuff? Obviously we can talk about the sales model and all this stuff, but do you struggle at all with this idea of like putting your stuff out there and worrying about what people are going to think about you? Is that not a worry for you at all? Is it more about how do I write a book, or should I do a course? Like, what is it that you sort of get hung up on? And, why are you here watching this instead of, I love that you're here, but you know what I'm saying? Like, why are you here instead of writing your book right now? What is it that maybe is keeping you stuck somewhere? So give me 1 second. Somebody else asking for the passcode. Sent.
I think the big
Yep.
thing also is like typically what you guys think is your problem is not your problem, right? At all. It's like, you might think that's the problem, and you don't do what you need to do because you think that's the problem, but that's not the problem at all. The problem is typically the stuff you're not aware of. And so that's one thing we're going to do the next while is we're going to help you guys figure that out. Like, what is the actual problem that you have, and a lot of that just comes from, like working with a lot of people and seeing what the problems are. And it's never like what you think it is. But yeah, what do you guys struggle with?
That's very true. And on that note, I don't know if anybody else has been through this, but both me and Alan have recently gone through the process of like trying to identify a health problem where we just know what the symptoms are. We'd go to see a doctor. Nobody could tell us shit that was actually helpful. And we found that this is a parallel, very strong parallel to business. Is like typically what people do is all they know is something's not working, and then they kind of just start throwing solutions at it. But usually what they should be doing is spending way more time trying to properly diagnose what the problem is, because the solution is usually pretty easy, but it's like trying to find a problem. That's usually where a lot of people get stuck, or rather they don't even know it. They just know that they have a problem and they're throwing different solutions at it when they should have gone in and maybe gotten an outsider perspective or whatever the case may be, looking at data to really properly diagnose the problem. And then the solution is typically pretty straightforward. So,
well, what most people don't realize, there's only two things you need to focus on, right? When it comes to like this whole game of making money online, right? It is a game. One is like, you got to be able to pay to acquire the customer, right? So the great gatekeepers of wealth, right now for you guys are like Facebook, Google, YouTube, right? And like basically to get in there and get the customer, you got to pay them, right? And so that's the first part, right? That's the first obstacle you got to overcome. So in the automatic clients book, whatever, it's $5, go get it. We talk about how to do that, right? And so like break even, acquire customers, right? And then the second, what's the second gatekeeper of success?
the payment processors.
No, it's not that. It's holding them back. Sorry, my buddy was texting me and I got distracted. So that's the first thing you got to do. Shoot, I slipped my mind.
It's okay. We can come back to it later on.
If it comes back, I'll get it. But there's like, geez, I hate when this happens. It's a really good thought too. Let's see.
Well, let's backtrack. So the first gatekeeper is to get the customer, right? So you got to pay to acquire the customer. And then what's the next problem that's coming after that?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure, got it. Fine. Yeah. So that's the first thing, like acquire a customer, right? And then the second thing is basically you guys have to have that, which is like you're not going to make any money there, right? Because what's happening is like every other person out there in the space is trying to make money on the front end, right? So if everybody's playing the same game, everybody gets the same results, right? So that's why we go for no money up front. Doesn't matter. We just want the customers. And then we sell like $5, $10, $20,000 programs, right? And that's 100% profit. And what ends up happening is like once you have that profit, then you can pay to have the best people work for you, have the best teams, have the best writers, have the best graphics, have the best customer service. You can hire the best people to run your Facebook ads. You can hire the best salespeople, right? And that's all it comes down to. It's like just those two things, like be able to acquire be able to pay for a customer or acquire a customer at a better rate than everybody else, sell them high ticket stuff, use that money to hire people that are really great. And that's all you got to do. It's like two things. That's everything, like every single thing, like every tactic, strategy, secret, growth hack, whatever you want. It's like comes down to those two things. And if you can really just master those two things, and then you get the keys to the kingdom, and that's it. Then you can run ads on Google, you can run ads on Facebook, you can run ads on YouTube. It becomes very, very easy. And then you can dictate how much money you want to make. You can be like, look, I want to buy this thing. And you're just like, okay, I need this many customers, this many backend sales, this much that. And, maybe a little bit of recurring. Oh, I want to buy that car, lease that car for $1,000 a month, but then people are recurring at $97 a month. Cars paid for free, right? I want to go live here, whatever, how many people are recurring done. I want that. And you just do it down to math, but it's like, that's it. It's like, Facebook doesn't care, right? The beautiful thing about Facebook and Google and YouTube is they don't really give a shit, who you are. Like if you're worth like $100 million or if you have $1,000 in the bank, they don't care. They don't care. They just care. To them, a dollar is a dollar. It doesn't matter who it comes from, right? And they'll serve your traffic all day long, which is great, right? And you can start very little. So you serve that traffic, you get the customers, you build a system, engineer it, whatever, and then you acquire it, and then you sell people high ticket, $6,500 to $10,000 or whatever, 5 to 10 grand, and then you use that money to pay people, and you create an upward spiral, right? And it's magic, and then it just everything takes care of itself. Once you have a little bit of momentum, you break gravity, you're good to go.
Yeah, and to Alan's point about people sort of focusing on the wrong problem, a lot of times people are focused on like, oh, I got to create a better ad, or I got to create a better page, or I got to have a better graphic, or I got to have all the fucking grammar in my book has to be dialed in. But it's like the economics of your business and your sales funnel, if you get that right, if you do everything that we outline in our book, where it's like there's a full front end funnel, like Alan said, we go out there, we spend money on ads, and then we acquire the customer, but we don't make any money there. We just throw all of that money back into ads, and then we focus on profit on the back end. If you do all that, you can botch a lot of things. If you got your economics right, you can have kind of like mediocre advertising, and you're still gonna be able to make it work. But if you have like average economics, let's say you put a shitty book together, half-ass one upsell, and call it a day, and then you take that to the marketplace and you try to run ads to that, you're quickly going to find out that it's just not going to work. And then you can have the best copywriter or advertiser in the world, they can't help you. So
well, let me expand on the word economics, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I noticed, like, I have a lot of friends who do extremely well, and I seriously like $50,000-$100,000 a day in revenue, right? And that's the truth. I can show you guys screenshots if you don't believe me, but because I have access to their shopping carts. And so, we all compete on economics, right? Like, so like if you join a lot of these groups, everybody's like, they want to compete on who's better at running ads. They want to compete on who's better at copywriting. And some guys or girls want to compete on, who has a bigger dick on Instagram or all this stuff, right? You can't compete on that, because the thing is, it's like you can't measure it. Like advertising and marketing all comes down to math, right? And it comes down to how much you can pay for a customer. So as an example, it's like, let's say, for example, I'm selling a weight loss product, right? And let's say in a market, and basically in the market, all claims kind of end up being the same, right? And so like, if you look at this current market, like, getting clients is what the market we're in. It's like all claims are kind of the same, get 17 high ticket clients a day, right? It's like, that's kind of the shit you see all over Facebook all day long, right? And then what ends up happening is like, people are like, well, do I learn how to get 17 clients from that guy, or do I learn how to get 17 clients from that guy? Because they're kind of saying the same thing with like 10 to 20% difference, right? This happens in every market, like weight loss market. Lose 20 pounds taking this pill, or lose 20 pounds taking that pill, right? Which pill do I want to use to lose weight? And so as far as copywriting goes, like there, it comes to a point of like diminishing returns where like better copy doesn't get you results. You know, better Instagram doesn't get you results. Better graphics doesn't get you, better branding, better speaking, better content. None of that gets you results, right? So let's say, you know, you have two equally talented people going in the weight loss market, you know, and they want to compete with each other. And then you have, you know, one of them is like figuring out how to use better words to increase his conversion rate. And the other one just, for example, adds a bump or like an upsell tweak, right? Upsell, like a $200 upsell, right? Now that one can spend like $50 more to acquire the customer. Same word, same everything. One just can acquire more, right? So right now, like with our book, like it's a $5 book, but we make $47 day zero, right? So that's our AOV, right? So we make basically in the book, and we talk about this, but it's like 10x, right? So if you can generate 10x of your front end price, then you can own the market. And so, you know, now there's some caveats to that. You can't be $1 and have a $10, you know, thing. It doesn't really work. But if you compete on economics, you compete on hard numbers, and you just focus how to increase those numbers, right? Etc. And then you acquire the customers. That's it. And that's what we mean by economics. It's competing on math, not necessarily being better at things that on surface level matter, but they don't really translate back into math, because end of the day, it's like money doesn't care where it comes from. And it's just like, if you look at money, how do you count money, right? You count money as a mathematical thing. It's like you're not counting money in terms of like this abstract ideas of likes, followers, how people feel about you, compliments, etc. Right? It's math. Like, how much money do you have? How much is a mathematical thing, right? Not like how much does your money like you or whatever, right? So when we talk about economics, that's kind of the core pillar of what we do, and it's all about just, you know, being honest. And math keeps you honest, right? Like if you look at the math, you're like, this is it, right? You can't sugarcoat it. And like with a lot of other stuff online, like that, like a lot of the marketing out there, it's like you can sugarcoat the marketing. Like, well, I got this many likes, I got this many comments, I got this, you know, these people told me I'm great. This man, it's like, yeah, okay, but how much money did you make, right? Because end of the day, we all, you know, wanna, you know, you can, like, as Robert has a famous saying, it's like you can turn money into anything, right? You can turn money to better health, you know, better living conditions, you know, you can better food, better healthcare, better everything, right? Better schools for your children. And so everything we do is focused on economics. It just keeps going back to that, like math, because it keeps you honest, right? And that's what delivers results. You optimize that, and then you have subjective, objective data, right? I think that's in the book, right? But a lot of stuff that we do is like objective data, like what's the data really say, not how we feel about what the data says, right? So yeah, a little bit of tangents, but Robert, let's get through this presentation. I'll stop kind of jumping in with these like mega tangents, and then we can kind of talk about all this after.
No, this is fine. This is really, I mean, again, you guys might have came here for one thing, but this is the stuff you really need. But with that, obviously, we'll continue here. So, two steps to this thing. If you're going to do an organic launch, right? Like we've kind of talked about advertising and being able to build an offer that's actually going to scale, which is very, very important. Back to the topic at hand, organic launch. Start off with just making a great product that people want, and then tell people about that product in a way that appeals to them. And we'll dig into like what people want, because this is another thing. You know, I am not a naturally good marketer at all, and I've gotten better through the years, but the stuff that I come up with naturally, the headlines, the angles, the hooks, they're not very sexy, okay? I've gotten a lot better, but like I made a course years ago about like automation. I didn't realize like who the hell wants automation? Like people want more clients, they want more customers, they want more money, you know? But that wasn't very obvious to me. So we will talk about that in a second, because this is something that not only is Alan kind of naturally good at it, he's also been studying and learning and putting it to practice for like a decade and a half, right? So I just wanted to show you guys this. This is so I had a successful agency for many years, right? And then I wanted a second source of revenue. So I created a course about the success that I had in my agency. Some of you guys bought the 2-Hour Agency book, but this, what's on the screen right now, this was the very first thing that I put out to the public. And at this point, I had tried like 3 different webinars from 3 different gurus. And if you guys watched our video sales letter for the book, you would have heard the story. So I'm not going to bore you with it. But the point was, the day that I posted this, I was very reluctant to doing that, because I had this dream of the life that I wanted, and I had this offer that I was trying to sell, and it wasn't working. So by the time I got to this point, I'm like, here we go again. Am I going to do this? Am I going to put myself out there one more time, get rejected one more time, and like finally put the nail in the coffin on my dream, where I put this thing out there. It doesn't do as well as I expect. It doesn't show me the opportunity. And I have to kind of admit to myself that this dream that I have is gone, is dead. So I put this thing out there, And to our agency, you can see the bullets: how we get 8 new clients on autopilot per month, how to find profitable agency ideas, 41 proven agency ideas, how to create a machine that runs by itself. Not going to continue, but as you can see, those are pretty sexy bullets. I'm sure Alan could write something better, but in the grand scheme of things, like, not bad, right? They're kind of, these are things that people want. So when I posted this, I was kind of scared to go check it because I didn't want to find out that my dream was dead. But you can see it here: 357 comments after I sent the link to everybody. Sold 102 copies to, a little Facebook profile with like 1 or 2 thousand friends. Made over $6,000 with the upsells, and took that money and put it straight back into advertising. So as far as the practical how to, like, this is what you would do, right? So once you have your book, you would just go create a cover like this, and they're all around. You can get them basically for free, or you can just make something in like Photoshop or Keynote or what's that? Canva.com. You can make book covers very, very easily. And then you just got to figure out a couple of bullets that of things that people want. So this is where I want to talk about that, because this is the stuff that, again, we've been working very closely with a bunch of people. And I also, again, have the experience of not naturally understanding what is sexy to people, what do they want to buy. So I did want to just kind of cover this a bit. And this is in the book. And I'll probably turn this over to Alan actually to talk about this, because this is more his area. But Alan, with the stuff on the screen and just a general question, like, what do you have to say about when people are sitting down, maybe they have an idea and so on, how should they approach this, the idea of like finding the hook or finding something that's interesting or that's sexy about the thing that they're selling, so that the market actually wants to buy what they have to sell?
Mm. It depends what's important to the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
What do they
I,
value?
I remember I was working with Kevin, one of our high-end guys in Accelerator, and he had this upsell, and it was doing okay, right? And like, basically, what we do is when you come into the Accelerator, we'll give you everything, and like, we work with you. So I think for the people that bought the upsell, they get that the rapid launch, they get that now, right? But anyway, so what ended up happening is I was looking at it, and like, he was all about like giving them stuff, right? And I'm like, it's not about giving them stuff. That they want is they want to get the result now, right? They want to get the stuff now. So I think it's just something like, when I write copy and do marketing, I go a lot by feeling. Like, does this have, do I get a feeling inside me that like makes me want to buy this? Does this kind of trigger something inside me, right? Because what ends up happening is like, when you listen to music, right? Like, you listen to good music, like, you feel it. And so like, when you watch a good movie, you feel it, right? And so good marketing, you feel it. You don't think about it, right? So like, all the things in life that feel good, that you respond to, you don't really think about. If you think, like, when you eat like a good meal, you're not sitting there thinking about, man, this meal is like really good, and you're analyzing how the chicken looks like, right? You're just eating it, right? You feels good. So you go by feeling, and the best thing to do is just to kind of like go through it and then like feel it. Like, does this feel really good? Does it feel compelling, right? That's the biggest thing I do. And then you have different things like outcome novelty, certainly part of something status. But like, the thing is like about that is like, you're trying to box the feeling in, right? And you guys know, like, everybody here basically is like a student of marketing. So, like, some marketing you'll respond to, and you have no idea why the hell are you responded to it. It's
Right.
like, it just gets you, it just gets you. And next thing you know, you're out there spending a whole lot of money, or like, you're in a call, or you're in a call like this, it just gets you somewhere. You have no idea. And it's like magic. And that's what you want to learn how to do, is like to capture that feeling. So, because if you feel it, then they will feel it, right? So for me, like, when I'm writing sales copy, doing marketing and doing stuff, it's like, does this feel good? Does this feel good, right? Does it have the energy to it? Like, does it compel me to do stuff? But
Yeah,
as
and
as
these
far
are
as
some of the ingredients. Sorry to cut you off, but these are some of the ingredients that would lead to Alan feeling good, right? Some of what you're seeing on screen.
Yeah, but it also has to do with like your market, right? So for example, like, if you look at your market, it depends, right? Like, so like, what outcome? Like, is it the outcome that everybody else is promising? If that's the case, don't do the outcome. And then
Right.
if it's like, if everybody else has that outcome, then it's like, is it a new way to get that outcome, right? And if it's a new way, is it better? Is it easier, right? Etc. So like, one thing, for example, the reason we did books over webinars, I made a lot of money off webinars 2014, 2018. I had like a lot of these very famous gurus pay me, like, one paid me like 100 grand in 2018 to help on webinars. But what ends up happening, what I realized, like, all these guys are running webinars and people aren't buying on webinars because they're just creating all this awareness. And then we came in with the books, and it's like, so all the people that don't want to spend $1,000, they'll spend $5 to get their, foot in the door, foot in the game, right? And that's why so many people buy the books. And that's kind of like a new way of getting that outcome. That's a novelty, right? And then certainty is like, well, certainty is there, yeah, for sure. Be part of something that's like groups, yeah, a movement, to gain status, that depends like who you're selling to. Like, is it influencers, whatever. Speed is always very important. Automation with less, that's always very important because people hate working. And then you getting close to a wizard, yeah, that's really important. But that also depends on how much, we have this concept we teach. It's like one of the most powerful things you can use in marketing is allowing the end user to, let their imagination kind of create the story. And what a lot of people do to screw up effective marketing is they'll talk too much and they'll say things that destroy the imagination, right? So an example would be like,
I'm good at that.
yeah, Robert's really good at that. So like one thing is like, for example, like let's say, you know, like if you watch a movie character, right? So like, Brad Pitt, whatever, like, you watch him and all these movie characters. And then because that's what you know about him, your imagination dictates that he has that lifestyle of these movie characters, right? Or Tom Cruise or whoever. But then like, I'm sure like if you go like hang out with him for like a week, he's just like a regular guy who wakes up, takes a shit, eats
Takes the
food.
magic out of it.
Yeah, has the problems, has issues,
Yeah.
he goes to work in a car, he shows up, he gets tired,
Road
he has like,
rage.
yeah, he has bad hair days, he has to go to the doctor, all sorts of things, right? Just like regular human beings, right? But the difference is that imagination, right? And so like what happens is like, if you like, we'll teach you guys all this like in time to come, but like in the game of marketing and selling online, it's like you really have to learn how to let people use their imagination about you, to do things. And that matters. What you don't say matters a lot more than what you say, than how you say it, because all that kind of works together, and then people really respond to that. And so like that's one thing as far as you getting you close to the wizard, right? But when it comes to like selling a product, how to come up with a hook, one of the best things to do, I talked to Jay about this last night. Let me see let me see 1 second. I saved this note somewhere. Hold on a second. It's about, it always comes down to the product, right? Like so, because marketing should be like a product amplifier, like to get a great product into people's hands, right? So the way we do it is like we say, what can we do to get people results, right? And so like, so there's different things you can optimize for, right? Like some people optimize for, money, some people optimize for fame, some people optimize followers. Like what we decide to optimize like is you get success stories, testimonials, right? Because end of the day, like, you can go rent cars, houses, mansions, all this shit like you see many of these guys doing. And, you can look like, you can look the part of a very rich person, successful person, right? And kind of that's a self-fulfilling prophecy because, I'll tell you a story. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a guy out there, I'm sure I'll try to tell the story to put the pieces together so you'll know who it is, right? But he lived he's a very famous guru. You guys have seen online, marketing his stuff out of a garage, right? And so like he like, like a few years ago before that happened, like he lived above a butcher shop in LA, right? Like above a butcher shop, like a room above a butcher shop on a mattress, right? And he started doing this internet marketing thing. And then, he rented an Airbnb, had a little get together, put a product, asked everybody, to mail the product. They promoted the product. He made some money. He rented a thing, leased a car. And then, he, showed a thing. And then next thing, one thing led to another thing. And then, he made, made a lot of money. And so it's like, you can do that, right? That's a process. A lot of people do it, right? And so like if you follow the cookie trail, you can figure out a lot of these guys do that shit, right? Because it's the guru way. But that's a problem with that because that's not sustainable, right? Like eventually, like, all those guys burn out. So like we ask ourselves, like, what can we do to, it's not about building an offer. It's about building a business. So like, let me see what we had this talk last night. Hold on a second. Damn it. Where is it? Oh, hold on. It's in my text messages. Hold on, I saved it. Okay, so marketing is good enough, you can scale something, but only if the product works, you can scale and sustain something, right? So that's a big thing. So only if the product works can you sustain something, right? Marketing and stuff like that will let you scale it, let you make money, but you're not gonna sustain it. And I know because I did it like a shit ton of times, like sold a lot of stuff and it came crashing, sold a lot of stuff. And I got really good at fucking selling, right? And then it's like, I had to get really good at helping people get results. And so the biggest thing is, again, it's like when it comes to like creating your product is like, what can you actually get people to do results, right? Because if you have a great product, get people results, and then you can amplify those results, and you can be around because like for us, we're optimizing for success stories and testimonials. And and then it becomes becomes a whole lot easier. Like everything is better. So that's how you do it. And then out of that, you extrapolate the marketing, right? Like novelty and stuff. And, you know, thanks to the magic of the internet, you can just Google all sorts of different solutions to everything, right? You can go to these like niche communities. So like if you're in like a weight loss community, you can go to like Reddit/weight loss, like, and you can find like some cool new advanced way things, how people are doing it. So the more niche you go into these like hyper niche communities of your market, that's where novelty lives. That's where hooks live, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're into dog training, I'm sure you can go find like you know, like some community, some forum online, and it's like nothing but dog trainers. And the reason that happens, that's where novelty lives and hooks live, is because they all clash. All these ideas, they all talk. There's like thousands of them talking, right? So for example, you know, right now you guys seen this thing happening with GameStop and Reddit, right? So they're all kind of like doing this crazy shit and like taking down Wall Street, right? So if you spent like 6 months, if you have a trading product, right, you spend like 6 months in the Wall Street Bets Reddit reading, kind of soaking up stuff in the comments and the discussions, whatever, you know, a hook, novelty, whatever will come out of that, and you create a sick product or marketing for that. It's going to scale, you know. So that's the way. That's the best way to do it. It's like you want to join communities because that does a lot, right? That helps you get people results. You speak their language. You know more than the end user, etc. Right? And so yeah, that's kind of where how I would do it. I mean, that's kind of like an overview, but that's kind of the best way to go find hooks. It's like go join communities where, you know, hooks live, where
You see
novelty lives.
ideas clashing. I like the way you phrase that. That's where a lot of
Yeah,
that
where
is seen.
yeah, a lot of agreements, disagreements, and stuff comes out, right? Because what ends up happening is like you have like, you know, if you have 10,000 people in a forum, right, and somebody says some idea, and you know, if it's good, you know, the thread will go up and people will talk about it. If it's bad, you know, like people that are smart are gonna shit on it and destroy it really fast, right? And it's not gonna work. So yeah, so this works on everything, and that's kind of the way to do it.
Yeah. So just a couple of points for you guys to keep in mind when you're creating your product. But like Alan said, like you cannot mess with results, right? Like, and you've probably seen other people do this, right? Where they post a result on Facebook from like one of their clients, and your brain just goes like, I gotta have this thing. And you message that person, right? And you start a
Yeah.
conversation. You're gonna see us starting to do that a lot because there is no more effective way to do it in my opinion. And I see it happening to me too. I'm watching some dude, right? And he posts maybe it's like a Facebook ads agency, and he posts like, oh, here's my client who sells books, and we just helped him sell, 15,000 books last month, and I'm selling books, and I'm like, I'm intrigued, right? I want to know more. So that kind of ticks, the outcome box, and also like kind of the FOMO of like not necessarily wanting to be part of something, but wanting to have, the FOMO of the fear of missing out of the results. So, yeah, have a think about that when you're creating your product. And I don't know if anybody wants to, but I did put in here, if anybody has like a product that you're already finished or working on, or if you have a market figured out where you're like, these are the people I want to help, but I don't know what I'm going to sell them. If you'd like to, this is totally up to you guys. We could invite one or two of you to come on here and have a quick chat with us, and we can kind of help you out if anybody wants to. If so, maybe just raise your hand or write something in the chat, and I'll unmute you right now. You can have a quick chat with me and Alan. Otherwise, we'll just go on and kind of, we have, I guess, I think I'm just summarizing things after this, and then we'll do a bit of a fireside chat.
Yeah, where we light the internet on fire. So how many guys enjoy this? Like, do you guys like this, like off the cuff, like honest type of shit? Because it's like, I feel like, I've been doing this so long that like, I think like one thing is like, I like to sell and do is like things I'd want to buy. Like I want to have these calls be the calls I want to be on myself, right? Like, I don't want to, like, to me, it's like, I hate being on things and doing things that I don't believe in myself. And so like, we want to do stuff, in a sense of like the stuff that we want to, we want to create stuff that doesn't exist because that's what we want to be part of, right? How many of you guys enjoy this, like off the cuff, just random talk, like a little bit, kind of giving you deeper insights into stuff? And like, we'll talk a lot about stuff that's not really talked about anywhere else. And I really mean that. Nobody really talks about a lot of this stuff
because they don't know it.
Yeah.
Let's invite Miles for a quick chat and just see if we can help him out at all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to unmute. There we go. Hey, Miles, how are you doing?
Hey, Robert. Hey, Alan. How you doing?
Greetings, good to chat with you again.
I tell you, gets any better, I'd be worried.
So tell us about your product. Let me see if there's any type of value that we can provide with you. Can you tell us what your market is and what kind of problem you're solving for people?
Well, my market is how to improve in the overall lead generation and execution without having to go for this painful cold calls and emails, which to me is just a mind exercise.
Sure.
So I like my approach is just grabbing the low hanging fruit, and this is regardless if you have a 10 person list to a 10,000 person list. It's a lot, studies showed it's a lot easier, it's a lot simpler to go back into the cornfields, so to speak,
What's
and
your
just
market? Who is
reharvest
it
what you
for?
got. Well, professional services in particular. And I initially started with the legal network,
Yep.
and they got too smart for their britches. So I'm refocusing that on another different area, but not quite finished with that. But last night on the Facebook, I posted my how would I say, the test case. That's the book cover of my ebook.
Yep.
And did I chance it? Yeah, but then you never know till you cross a hole unless you jump.
100%. And I just want to point something out here, guys. So like what Miles is telling us is he's helping professional service companies how to get more leads. It doesn't, you don't nail it more than that. If you ask any professional service company, what do you want? They're going to tell you they don't want more sales, they want more leads. That's the exact word that they're going to use. And we see that a lot, especially also when I worked with a lot of other agencies, but also our clients, who are going into those different markets. They speak to any type of professional service company. They don't want sales, they want leads, which is funny, but that's bang on. So that's really good, Miles. I think you're on a great track there. Is there any type of challenge or question that you have that we can help you with as far as that goes?
How what's unique about the way you get leads? Like, I mean, because the thing is, like, that's a very common thing, and the problem here's the problem, guys. Like, if there's margin in the market, like, that's like blood in the water for the sharks. Like, people want that margin, right? So margin breeds competition. So the problem you have now, again, earlier I said, the problems you think you have are not your problems, and you're not really aware of the problems. So the biggest problem you have, Miles, is like the how general that idea is, like, get more leads. Like, what makes it unique for you? Like, do you get leads on LinkedIn, whatever? What makes that, what's special about it? Just saying, get more leads is not enough.
I don't know if he dropped out, but yeah, we have this concept we talk about in our book called disruptive idea, which is effectively what's everybody else doing, and do you have something that is sort of new and different from that? Because like Alan's saying, and like what I said is 100% true, right? They all want leads, but what Alan's saying is there's a lot of competition for that, because we all know that that's the case. So everybody's selling leads. Now the question becomes, well, first of all, can you deliver on that? But second of all, from a marketing standpoint too, like, are you doing it in a way that's going to capture their attention? So if we go back to the 2-hour agency, it was actually similar to what Miles is talking about. I don't know how exactly he delivers, but how everybody ran their agencies before was like they would do cold calling and cold emailing, and they would try to get on the phone and they would try to close these high ticket deals. And I kind of flipped my agency upside down, and I started doing like low ticket services that I could just close automatically through our website. So I solved the problem for the agencies, right? And it was a brand new way of doing it, and it was completely opposite of what everybody else was doing. So this is extra important when you're in a saturated market like leads generation, So again, I don't know if Miles dropped out. His microphone isn't really moving, but Miles, are you there to respond? Do you have a disruptive idea? How do you deliver on those leads in a way that's perhaps different from what everybody else in that market is trying to sell them? And if not, then something to think about.
Because I think it's like what most people don't realize, and like, is that you think you're competing with other people, right? Like, you think you're competing against other marketers. You're not. What you're really competing is like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, groups, their children like playing around them, like attention, right? So
yeah, exactly. Attention.
it's like, so when you have like a general, very I wouldn't say boring, but it's kind of like a general idea they see, automatically they like become like, there's like blindness
So
as far
what?
as,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, so what, right? You're not just not, you're the fifth guy telling me how to do it, right? And then like so that's what happens. And then the big thing is like, hey, do I go read this page, or do I go watch this funny video on YouTube? Do I go read this page, or do I scroll Instagram? Do I read this page? And then it's like, you're not only asking them to read the page, you're asking them to give you money. And then what ends up happening is like, every time you ask somebody to give you money.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what ends up happening is like, whenever you ask somebody to give you money, you're at the same time asking them not to buy something else, right? So every time like somebody spends like $1,000 with you, that's $1,000 that they didn't spend on something else. So you got to come prepared with that in mind, right? So you think you're competing against other marketers stuff. That's not the case. You're competing against life, and so you really got to cut through the noise. And that's what we call that disruptive idea. Because the problem, it's like, I was talking to a buddy of mine, right? And he's doing like $120,000 a day on YouTube now. And we were comparing like, what we pay for ads on Facebook and what he pays. And it's like, I realized something like on Facebook, it's like when you're scrolling, right? You're scrolling, every time somebody flicks a thumb and scrolls past your ad, you get charged an impression, right? So that scroll has to stop somebody, get them into the sales funnel, and then get them to buy. So Miles, what you have to do is you have to figure out like what your, how is this unique? How is this special? How is this, wow. And the way you do that is, you imagine you're sitting with somebody at a bar, right? You met somebody at a bar, you're having a drink, and they ask you what you do. And in like over that drink, like say 3 to 5 minutes, if you're drinking fast, you got to be able to explain this concept. And they go, I really want to do that. How can I get in on that? That's kind of the litmus test, right? If they keep asking you questions about it, it's not good enough. Or if they say, I heard that before, it's not good enough. Like the outcome has to be, I want to do that now, because that's exactly what I need. That's the exact problem I have, right? And so you got to come up with that hook. So we have a guy in our accelerator. He does this for roofing companies, right? So I came up with this hook for him. And what ends up happening in our accelerator, we come up with a lot of the hooks for people. So like we came up with pretty much all of them, all of them. And like what I came up with him is like, when the roofing spaces, the roofers get a lot of leads, right? They get shit ton of leads, but they don't, but their problem isn't really leads, because they have so many leads, because all these people send them leads, is that they don't make money. So the people that, all the money is in the leads that don't buy your product service. And so that's the hook we came up for him, right? So all the leads are in the people that, so you can reuse that in your market. Like, so you can go to lawyers and you can say, all the money you're not making is in the leads that don't buy your service, right? Now you flip the script, and that's very intriguing, and that's something that they are like, oh, what do you mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And disruptive ideas are huge.
Yeah. And you can say like, here's how you can double your law practice without generating a new lead. What do you mean? Oh, well, because all the leads are, here's how we can recover leads, right? Et cetera, And so what I would do, I would call your offer something like recovered revenue, right? Like recoveryourrevenue.com. And so Miles, you should go buy that now before somebody else, because what ends up happening when I come up with domains for people, somebody steals it. So go buy that right now. Recover your revenue. Yeah. And so I would call your offer recoveryourrevenue.com, and that's the book. And so like I came up with like every single offer in our accelerator for these guys. And we have, by the way, we have 100% success rate of people that do work. And there's a lot of people that pay us a lot of money that don't do shit. So it's like, I don't know what the success rate is based on that, but yeah, so like recover your revenue, and that's kind of the magic. You see how that feels good? You see that feeling? Like, what do you mean recover your revenue? I didn't even know I was losing revenue. It's like, shit, tell me more, right? I would want to learn that, right? It's like, shit, it's huge. And then it's like, it's easy to sell your, so Miles, like if you have like a $10,000 program, you're talking to a law firm and they say, well, you ask them a simple question. How much revenue do you have? Boom. How many leads do you have? Okay. So based on this math, you're losing $90,000 a year, right?
It's a premium, Alan. It's a premium.com at $3,800.
Right. Whatever. Like recoveryourrevenuetoday.com, whatever, or now, whatever. You can flip it, whatever. But that's the idea. And you can just have the book, or you can do recoveryourrevenuebook.com. But what ends up happening, you go to a law firm, they get like $90,000 losing revenue. You say, well, for $10,000, we'll help you recover that. And now there's a justification mechanism in there for them to give you $10,000. There's a reason for them to give you $10,000. So in our accelerator, like I do all our sales in the back end, right? And like my hook is like, look, it's like we charge $6,500. And what we do is we help you get one sale, right? One sale, and that's break even for you, and the rest is profit for you. And people are like, yeah, that's a great deal. So you have to have a justification mechanism in there, which goes back to your disruptive idea, which goes back to the ad, which goes back to the thought and everything. So you have to connect everything front to back all the way for it to work. And what most people do is like, they'll have like one of these ClickFunnels templates with like 4 bullets, and they'll just be like, blah, 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 whatever. And it's just kind of like cobble fuck together. And the way you know it is like, you'll see these offers come on Facebook for like a week and you never see them again, right? Never see them again. And that's what happens, because they just don't work. And the reason they don't work is this is cobble fuck together. And when it comes back to, what is that thing? Economics, right? So when it comes to economics, economics don't work. And so there's this illusion of, well, all these people being successful, but they're not, because you'll see a lot of them come and go, come and go, come and go, you know?
Yeah. I just muted Miles, actually, just in the interest of time. I think he has a lot of food for thought there, but that's really good. I love that hook, and I love the angle, and I think that was great that we got that idea out there, this disruptive idea, because it's so important, and it's such an easy thing to actually come up with. Usually, if you just think about it, well, most people they never think about it. They just go, yeah, I am going to deliver leads to professional services, which is great. That's what they want. However, if there's 48,000 other people doing it, you do need to stand out. And a way to do that easily is to have a disruptive idea. So I do want to jump on with Sune as well, because he posted in our group too. And I think we might be able to give him a little bit of value. And then we'll kind of wrap up and do some fireside chat at the end if you guys want to chat some stuff. And I'll double check if there are any questions in the chat. What's up, Alan?
I do want to add one thing before we get on. Like, the biggest thing is, like, you know, in business, there's this, you know, in business, all of you guys heard this thing called OPM, like other people money, right? Like, use other people's money to buy real estate, start a business, do all that. Like, that's been kind of like talked about for years, right? Like, what I do myself is like, I like to use OPR, other people's resources, right? To kind of like get ahead. You know, other people's knowledge, network connections, etc. And then ask them, because the biggest thing is like, if you guys had, this is the biggest thing about it, right? Like, if you guys knew how something would work at every step of the way, why wouldn't you do it, right? If you knew every step of the way to building a 7-figure business without making a mistake, why wouldn't you do it, right? And so, like, me and Robert, we like figured a lot of this out for you, and we'll be doing these calls. And so, like, use our knowledge, whatever, come on and get help for free, you know, whatever, it's free, who cares, right? So it's like, doesn't cost you anything except like an hour or two, right? And then we'll probably do this every Monday. And you can leverage us to do that. And so, like, if you could build a 7-figure business without it making every single mistake along the way, would you do it? If the answer is yes, then come on these calls and ask questions and get help. And yeah, like, so right now, like, we came up with Miles, you know, offer, name, hook, everything. And all he has to do is literally read the Automatic Clients book, follow the step-by-step directions, ask some questions in the group, come on a call next Monday, and like, he's moving along. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Like, we literally, if he does everything right, that's like a 7-figure business within like 6 months, you know?
Boom. All right, let's get Sune on here. I'm going to ask to unmute him from Denmark. What's up, Sune?
Hey, guys. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. You're in the health and fitness space. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, actually. Or, so to speak, I'm not professionally trained or anything like that, but
hey, if you get results, nobody gives a shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And the reason you know that is probably because I posted in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And my idea and niche, it actually stems from my own practical experience. I used to work as an officer in the army, and then I quit a couple of years ago, and I established a family, got 2 kids, and I got a 9-to-5 job and everything, and just figured out that, you know, staying on top of my fitness game is actually pretty difficult, especially now with the COVID, with the fitness centers closing down and everything. So I kind of put together this set of habits, so to speak, you know, really small changes that are very easy to implement in your everyday life. That when all compiled together actually makes a huge difference. You know, it's actually very easy to keep off the kilos, and if you're already a bit overweight, then it actually helps you lose weight pretty significantly just by making all these small changes. So my idea is to wrap that all together in this $5 book, do the $10 audio version, and then maybe do an upsell of like a $25 pack with some easy recipes and some easy workouts,
Right.
stuff like that. Also stuff that's very easy to implement and just go with. And then I've been contemplating doing some kind of maybe a $10 a month retainer with some reminders, sending text messages to people throughout the day to keep reminding them of these habits, doing some meal plans and some workout plans
Yep.
that drops every month just to keep people going.
Yep.
So basically, I think my biggest challenge right now is getting to grips with all the nuts and bolts in the machine of doing it, because
Yeah.
as I see it, I probably need to put together about 10, 12 products. Of course, the ones that I mentioned here, and maybe something to give people if they submit a review that I can post online. They get this extra added little benefit and stuff like that. So figuring out all these small sub products, and then just the entire overview of the complete roadmap. Where do I start? Where do I end?
Yep.
When do I implement the funnel? Do I need to build it in ClickFunnels? Can I use GrooveFunnels? Whatever, Do I need my own domain to host everything on? Can I host it on ClickFunnels and just put in my own domain? All this stuff. How do I build a database for people to automatically receive everything? Just getting to grips with the whole engine thing in it.
I get it. It's overwhelming sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's like, and consuming your product, it's great. It's so informative, but it can be a bit like drinking from a fire hydrant. Once you turn it on and try to stick your face in front of it, you're not gonna get much of a drink. You just get sprayed all the way back and think, okay, I got to figure out a way to get this into a more manageable format. So that's kind of where I'm
that's
at.
very well put. Yeah, and it's like that's why we have the accelerator, right? Because a lot of people run into that where it's like, and we've been through this a couple of times, and Alan has built many offers, and we know that even though things are easier these days than they were, like Alan can tell you guys stories from building offers back in the day when we didn't have the tech that we do now. But one thing we love to say is, you make money with what you know, and you lose money with what you don't know. And so the devil is in the details, and that's why we do the accelerator, so we can kind of help people out with those kinds of things. But if you do have one question that we could help you with today, what would that be?
That'd probably be if you can give me a guideline to the roadmap, where to start, what's the most crucial thing to do. Let's say you got the front end product and the first two upsells, you got that sorted.
Yep.
What specifically do I need to go invest time and money in to begin with? It could be learning whatever, implementing, getting the domain, implementing the ClickFunnels thing. Where should I start off? Basically, I think that's the biggest hurdle right now.
Yeah, we'll get Alan's take on this too, but the big glaring one is obviously figuring out what the back end is, and your back end. I mean, I would imagine there's a lot of health and fitness products out there, and Alan has been in that market I think several times over. But there is there's only so many things you can sell, really. I mean, a lot of times the back end is going to be some type of maybe group coaching, I would imagine, and you can definitely get into the supplement space as well. And I think a recurring product is a great idea. And I think I would probably expand on it a bit, because what the sad thing is because it sounded like what you wanted to do was like a $10 a month, and it's like a reminders thing. That what the sad thing is, a lot of people don't want to be reminded. They want to get the dopamine hit and feel like they're making the step when they're buying the thing. And then it's not up to you actually to make sure that they do the work. You got to be there when they want to do the work, but you can't do it for them, right? It's like this idea of you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. And sadly, the majority of people kind of fall into that. And look, we all do on some level. We all have books on our bookshelves that we have not read yet, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're all guilty of that. There's nothing wrong with it. So my point with that was, I think a recurring product is great, but I think the accountability aspect of it should not be the main thing, because that's actually not what they want. But if there's some type of, new ideas and new meal plans and so on and so forth, I don't know what it would be. Definitely that. And then potentially even even supplements too. But Alan, any thoughts on this? You've obviously got a
Yeah.
good grip on this market.
So I was in that market many years ago, and I owned a supplement company, and I sold it. Yeah. So like a little bit of like so, a little bit of you got to come out. Well, there's two parts, right? There's the stuff that's holding you back, that preventing you from moving forward, and there's the stuff that like you really need to succeed at this, right? The stuff that's holding you back from moving forward is all the technical stuff, the very all the stuff you got to do, like build a funnel and everything. But what you really need is like, you need like some magic in that, right? And so like, you're in luck, because like we actually have a Robert. Can you? Can you stop sharing? No, it's fine. I'll just text you this. Just open it up. Hold on a second. So we have a client, and I came up with this offer for him. And me and Robert work with him closely in our accelerator.
Quick
just open
question:
that up.
Are you in the English-speaking market?
No, yeah. Well, I would be, I guess. I'm situated in Denmark, as you very well guessed. But I guess that
the reason I
Danish
ask is
market
sometimes that's a huge opportunity. Obviously Denmark is not a huge place, but the advertising cost in those smaller markets much lower. Let me just make sure that I don't open up Alan's link.
Yeah, so this is a guy, we helped him build this offer, and I came up with this hook for him called the Impossible Diet.
All right, let me pull it up.
And so like you can see how he does it, how he kind of architected it. You can kind of model that, right? Because I don't know if you got the rapid launch stack, but it's all in there. But so like you can see how he does it right here. And it's just like, it's called the Impossible Diet. It's really good. And like they do an upsell, supplement upsell, right? So you got to have something like, because when it comes to losing weight, they want like a magic bullet, right? Because they have this biological problem they've had all their lives, and they live with it. It's with them 24/7. Like they wake up, look in a mirror, it's there. They go to sleep, it's there. They take a shower, it's there. They put on clothes, it's there. It's something, and they want it gone, right? So they want a magic bullet, and that's why that works. So, little habits is fine, but you need some type of something more, some like thud factor there, and then once you have that, then the rest will work itself out. So like with this thing, it was like, the Impossible Diet, which is like you can eat anything, do whatever, and still lose weight, which is like that's impossible. It's possible. So really good if you study it, impossibledietbook.com/book. But yeah, I think what you need is just like a little more of a work on that disruptive idea than just habits. And then the you can have the supplement, and then the second upsell I would do is like a WhatsApp coaching. You can do for like $97 a month. That's what they're doing. And I think like in Rapid Launch Stack, we give you our sales copy, and I think upsell 2 you can model for that, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So you can do that. So you need WhatsApp coaching, and then the supplements. So the supplements work like 136, meaning they get 1 bottle for 47, 2 bottles for like 90, or like maybe 87, or 3 bottles for 147, something like that. Or it can be like $70 for 1, 100 for 2, and 200 for 5, or whatever, right? Goes 136.
Would you do that with like an affiliate program, or would you get stock, whole stock, ship it yourself, all that stuff?
No, there's a company, you go to vitallabs.com. That's who I use when I had my supplement company. And the cool thing about them is that you can order 24 bottles. You just need 24 bottles, right? They're super cheap, and they have like these white label formulas. So what you do is you go on 99 Designs, you post a contest, you get a label made, you send them. Don't get the cheap label they make. Use the glossy one. It looks a lot better. And basically they'll put the labels on you and store like as little as 24 bottles, and they'll ship it for you and everything. So you get an order, you send it to them, they ship it out. It's really nice. So vitallabs.com. If you call them, ask to talk to Vic, he's the owner, or Justin, he's the nephew. They run it. And yeah, just tell them Alan sent you, and they'll take care of you. And it's cheap. It's like, like a $3 supplement, you can sell for like $50 to $100. It's awesome. Yeah. That's why earlier in the call I said,
I buy some products, and they keep it on stock, and then they drop ship it for every order, or how's that work?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, all you got to do is focus on selling it. Yeah, it's really great.
Oh, okay, that's
so that's cool, that's what we helped out. That's what we helped our guy do with this Impossible Diet. Built a whole backend with supplements and WhatsApp coaching and everything. So he's going to run hard. I think they'll do really well. Yeah. But I think you're missing, like, I think you need something like, you know, I don't think Little Habits is good enough to really penetrate a weight loss market, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Good input.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sunat. Nice to connect with you. And so with that, I think let's summarize a bit here and kind of maybe wrap this puppy up. So remember, people do want to buy things. Don't go around thinking that you're doing people a disservice by asking them for money and so on. People love to buy stuff and they love to grow. For me personally, one of the most exciting things in life is like growth, like wanting to do something and getting better at it, you know. Remember also, there's value in doing things right, there's value in doing things wrong, there's no value in just not doing it and just indecision. All right. And then as far as the organic launch goes, make a great product, tell people about it. And again, you don't need an audience to do this. Of course, there needs to be somebody, but I think that there's usually more money in your friends list than you might expect. And I'm a great example of that. I had like 2,000 friends. I did literally, when I posted my that post that I showed you guys before, I told myself if I sell 5 copies, it's a win, and I sold 102. So you can see how much there's a difference there between the expectation and reality. Of course, I did have a little bit of luck as far as really nailing what it was that I was offering and how much people wanted it. But the point is, a lot of us are overestimating how big of an audience you actually need to do this. And of course, if you have other people, you know, you could always do some kind of partnership or JV if you know somebody else, or you can find somebody else who's got a big email list or a big Facebook group or LinkedIn group or whatever the case may be, and you have a great product, you can go to them and say, hey, why don't we partner on this launch? You can check out my product, and they'll sell it to their people and give you a cut if you literally have 0 people to launch to. But that's the way that it works. We talked a little bit about what people want. So, you know, what you sell has to be sexy, and, you know, there's nuances, right? So Alan just, you know, talked about the health market. It's like they're looking for almost like a magic pill, right? And on some level, you have to play to what they want, right? Of course, we're not selling, you know, fat loss pills because they're not going to work. But there has to be, from a marketing standpoint, you have to kind of fulfill that thing that they're actually looking for. So there's that. Action steps. I mean, what can I tell you? Figure out, you know, what market you want to sell to. Go create your book or your course. Move fast and don't get caught up in perfectionism. I think one thing that we have we didn't really agree on at first in our company between myself and Alan is like, but we do now, is like, it's better to move fast and just improve on a product than it is to sort of make it perfectly from day one and then you know, take it to the market. Because when you just create, you know, an okay or like a good enough is perfect kind of a product, you give it to the market and then the market's going to tell you what to change, you know, rather than you trying to perfect it from day one. So it's actually better for you and the market. You're going to move faster and you're going to refine that product to the point where they actually do love it. So that's it. You know, create it, go tell everybody you know. And with that, we kind of, you know, that's kind of it for the call here. I am going to tell you guys more about the accelerator if you're interested in joining that. And of course, if there are any questions and so on, feel free to drop them in the chat. We can kind of go through them now. And if Alan has anything to add, feel free to do so.
So I shared a lot of stuff I don't remember what I shared about because I go like off the, you know, stream of consciousness, I guess, you know, whatever. So I have no idea what I talked about. And like, but it's recorded.
Well, we got the recording, yep.
Yeah, what I want you guys to do, which would be really helpful for us, is like if you guys go to the group, I'm gonna give you a link right here to the AC group, and just give us your biggest takeaway. Whatever I said, whatever Robert said, you know, just be like, what, like 1 or 2, 3, it can be 10 takeaways, whatever. Give us your biggest takeaway, so that way we know what to focus on our next call to figure out where the value is, what your biggest takeaway is. And so,
yeah,
like,
we can't read your mind, so please do this. It's very helpful for us, and it's gonna benefit you too if you tell us.
Yeah, and I need like 5. Just give like I need 5, at least 5 people on the call, and then like just knock that out, and then we're gonna get into the fireside chat and all the other stuff. Just, you know, take away from this call. What do we call these calls? We call them what is this shit?
Who knows?
Money Morning Mondays: strategies, techniques, and tactics to grow your business this week. Yeah, so Monday money mornings.
We got to figure out the sequence of those words, but
yeah, that's a cluster. Yeah. Yeah, so post that up in a group. Let us know what your takeaways, and then we'll get into the Q&A.
Yes.
Fireside.
What's your biggest takeaway?
Yeah.
And we're going to wait here till you guys post, and then we'll tell you guys more about the accelerator and fireside chat. Let's see. So just say biggest takeaway from the call, whatever.
Monday morning. Holy shit! I can't even. That's like a mouthful.
How
All
about
right,
just
Monday Mondays or some shit
Money
like that.
Mondays?
Yeah. But it's cool. Like we're gonna do it Mondays. That way, like whatever we talk about, you guys can go and use rest of the week, which is kind of cool, right? And then you can ask questions because we, if you do a call for Fridays or Thursdays, it's weekend. People want to think about stuff. So Mondays work extremely good. Damn, nobody's giving us a little love here on their biggest takeaways. You guys are very shy.
Yeah, that's true.
What did they say? The timid salesman, his kids go starving or something like.
I don't know. We need like elevator music while you guys post in the group what your biggest takeaway was.
Yeah. Yeah, timid salesman have skinny kids. Yeah, just post, guys. Don't be shy. My takeaway was this. My takeaway was that.
The shoemaker kids are shoeless. So Suna posted here in the chat.
All right. I don't know where to start with a fireside chat. There's so much we can talk about. So much to talk about. So much good stuff we can talk about.
Yeah. Well, guys, go to the Facebook group. Just let us know your biggest takeaway from the training. And based on that, we can have a bit of an informal fireside chat. And if you guys want to know more about the AC Automatic Clients Accelerator, we can tell you more about that. And then we'll sign off here today.
Okay, Miles. There you go. Thank you, Miles. All right, 4 more guys, then we get to the fireside chat.
Yeah, Suna, please go post in the group what you said. Biggest takeaway, focus on the easy solution for the customer. Post it in the group, please, and we'll have it recorded. We're not going to be able to save this chat, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Miles, takeaway from our Zoom. It's about time, long overdue for this business approach and RNA. Oh, that's us, our ideal leaders.
All right, guys. Well, it's interesting because Miles posted and they're posting as a comment, which is kind of cool. Like you can post, you should post like a thing. What's your biggest takeaway from today's call? And let people comment, Robert, instead of like posts. And that's interesting. Yeah, it's pretty smart actually. Didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this today. We just wanted to get started, and we're gonna figure out all these little details.
Yeah. All right. Well, they can post. We don't have time to waste. Let's do the fireside chat. But you can talk about the accelerator stuff.
Sure. I'll just be brief because we do want this to be mainly value driven, and we, like I said before, and like we talked about, it's all about the results. So we have this program called the Automatic Clients or AC Accelerator, and what we do is here. I'll show you the next screen. Basically, we help you launch your offer and scale it up to 7 figures. And we've been doing this for about a year. We haven't been selling this book. So we just sold this to the people that were on our list. And we've had like 60 people in this program. And everybody who does the work gets the results because we're on there for 4 hours a week, the way that we've been on with you guys today. But it's, I would say, a little bit more Q&A based. So you guys could tell Suna, for example, had a lot of questions about specifics of like, what would I do? So we actually go through the table like this and we help everybody out. And we have multiple 7-figure case studies, which is kind of crazy given that there's like 60 people who went through the program. So, I mean, that's amazing. So what we do is we give you everything that you need, all the sales funnels and the emails. And, we have this really, one thing that people don't think about as much as they should is their own self-awareness. So we have this lengthy, and that's kind of a bad word, but we have this lengthy sheet that you fill out when you join the accelerator, which is designed to kind of like let
I'm gonna
us
show
know
that
about.
actually.
Okay, yeah. Do you have the link?
Yeah, after you go through it, I'll walk them through it, and we'll show you the reason everybody gets success.
Well, yeah. Why don't you can pull it up and then you can share your screen instead. But effectively, it's a lot of it's based around self-awareness, and there's nuances to all this stuff, and the thing about it, people is everybody is different. So different people might need to focus on different things, and different people might need a partner because maybe they suck at something that's kind of crucial. So we do this to get results. And as I told you guys, the way that we're going to be pitching this to everybody is just as more results come in, and we're going to take the ones that we have, we're just going to keep posting them until, if you want to do this, you're just not going to be able to see another way to do this than to join us, because we're the best at it. And we have a really good track record for the little work that we've done so far. So do you have the sheet? You want to show it?
Yeah, stop sharing your screen so I can share mine.
Okay.
All right, guys. So here's the magic, right? So just some background before I show the sheet, right? So before me and Robert started working together, like I did consulting for about a year, right? And what do you guys see right now? Do you see
Yeah, I
do you
see it.
the-
I see it.
Okay. Yeah, and so what ended up happening is like I did a lot of consulting, right? So a lot of very famous gurus came and paid me a whole lot of money to help them, make more money, and I did that. And so the problem I found was like there was all these like questions I had to ask them, right? And I got tired of asking them. So when we started working together, like I was like, we need a process, right, of how to put people through a process to get them results, right? And so it was actually 45 pages. I had to chop it down, but basically these are all the questions I ask when I build an offer, right? And so when you come into our accelerator, it's not just like here's a course and go through the shit. Right now, in fact, there is no course. It's basically all hands-on work with you. So the first thing you do is you come in and we ask you to fill this monster out, right? And the reason we ask you to fill the monster out is because everybody's different. Like your skill set are different, experience is different, market is different, niche is different, audience is different. It's all different, right? And you got to take all that and kind of make it into something that works, right? So first thing we ask you is like who you are, your profile, what your full name, what your profession, education, whatever. We want to know everything about you, right? What your LinkedIn profile, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, what your relationship status is, whatever, right? Because like, for example, if you're married, then it's like, how are you going to make a decision right then? And if you sell to people who are married, that affects it, because if you sell to people who are married, you got to sell the wife through the guy or vice versa, etc. That works, right? We ask you your personal information, what products you did, how did you sell it? What do you like to do in your free time? What are your hobbies? What are you particularly good at? What are you particularly bad at? All that stuff. We ask you what your plan and accountability is. Like, what's your plan to actually do this, right? Because our North Star is to get success stories. So if you come in and you don't do anything, that's a waste of our time. It's a waste of your time, because we could be using that time to help somebody actually who's going to get results, because we want to optimize for success stories and testimonials and case studies, right? So, we focus on your plan and accountability. Then we want to know more about your journey here. Like, how did you get the idea to start being an entrepreneur, and how did you get here, right? Et cetera. We ask you all that. We ask you your dreams and desires, right? Because to motivate you and to kind of remind you along the journey, why you're doing this, to keep going. What roadblocks and constraints you have, right? Like, meaning like what's holding you back from moving forward, right? Your work schedule, productivity hours. This is where Robert comes in, because he's really good at doing more with less time, because he has kids. So like he has to.
And I'm lazy, so I'm always looking for a better way.
Right. And so your technical skills and limitations. So like some of you guys are good at tech stuff. Some of you guys suck at it, right? And so we need to figure out like, where you are. Do you not use Keynote, ScreenFlow? Do you not use Slack, Google Analytics? Do you not use ClickFunnels, ActiveCampaign, ThriveCard, Schedule Once? You know how to do it. If you don't, then it's like we help you do it, right? Your content production equipment. If you want to make videos, you want to get on videos, like here's what you need if you want to look like you have $1 million setup for cheap. Then after that, we focus on your target market, right? Who you want to sell to. We ask who your target market is, who can't live without it. We ask your education level, all this stuff we ask, who are you trying to sell to? Then we figure out all these questions, your market niche research, more of that. What information are they, gurus are they following? What do they typically pay for the products? What Facebook groups are they in? What are market super texts? Market super texts are basically like the courses that everybody learns from, right? What are the type products in the market, et cetera. We go that what your progress meter is. So we go over like, how do you measure progress? Like, how do you know you're making progress, right? Because remember, like we talked about, if you go from, you know, like if you're measuring progress in terms of likes, fans, group size, whatever, but not money, that's a problem, right? So like, how do you measure progress? What are the transitions? So in the book, Automatic Clients, you know, we talk about this. What are the niche transitions, the market transitions? You know, our webinar is dying, our book's a new thing. You know, is continuity a new thing? Is the high tick a new thing? Every market has transitions. And if markets didn't have transitions, you couldn't have new people enter the market because it would just be a status quo forever, right? Then we have niche assumptions. Like, what are you assuming about your market that you think is true, and what do they think is true, right? Because the thing about when it comes to selling to a market, you can't go and educate the market. You have to sell what they think is true. If they think something is true, then you got to kind of focus on that. This is very important, right? What are their fears, right? Like, so what's the fears in the market? Like, you know, I'm afraid of this if I don't do this. So for example, if you're selling to lawyers like Miles, right? Like, I'm afraid if you don't get this much business, we can't do X, Y, Z, you know, et cetera. So you got to really know their fears, because humans are very motivated by fears. Then we focus on, you know, intimidation factors. So intimidation factors are like things that intimidate them from taking action. So an example is, I got a Peloton bike, right? And I was telling my buddy, I'm like, dude, you got to buy this thing. It's so amazing, whatever. And he's like, you don't understand. He's like, I'm intimidated. I'm like, what do you mean? It's a bike, get on it. And he said, you know, it's not that I'm intimidated by bike. I'm intimidated the fact that I'm not going to use it, right? And so there's a lot of that going on. And most people never even think about this, but your leads are intimidated. Like, some of you guys are intimidated by doing a book, right? Intimidated by doing a course, intimidated by doing all this stuff. Then you got to, you know, we go over what your niche believes, your market, what they believe, because we want to sell to beliefs. What are regulations? So we had a guy from London join us, and he was selling to financial planners, a whole lot of red tape. So we had to work with him to kind of bounce around that. Then it's like your ideal customer, who you really want to work with. Like, you know, these people bring joy to your life, who your nightmare customers are. We actually kicked a few people out of the accelerator because a few of them were like trying to sell scams, and we don't do that. And then some others just had bad energy. And so like nightmare customers, you know, we tell you to go fire people, kick them out, stop working with them. Who cares? There's more, right? And then we focus on what your solution to the problem is, right? What your solution to the problem is. And then we focus on what your superpower is, help you develop a superpower. Then we focus your archetype. So archetype is interesting because what ends up happening is, like, as a guru, you'll notice like certain archetypes. So, you know, like you guys have this thing where in Hollywood, you'll have these like movie characters you always resonate with, and you're like, man, this is really great. So I want to show you a few examples of archetypes and how well-known gurus use that. I'm just going to show you guys, popping a bunch of tabs. Second. So I'm going to show you a few well-known gurus. So an archetype is an example, like I'm sure you guys have seen. And like, for the record, you know, I don't know if these guys consciously did this or not. I have no fucking idea. Like, it just could be that that's how it worked out, but this is how an archetype works, right? So this is like Frank Kern, right? So this is Frank Kern when back in the day when he was a surfer, right? Long hair, that was an archetype, right? This is Frank Kern now because the market's changed, right? You see that, right? So for example, right here, right? This is Don Draper, right? Advertising. You can see the similarities. You can see the haircut. You can see the office. You can see the demeanor. You can see, like, you know, if you saw Frank at ClickFunnels, like he's drinking on stage, Don Draper drinks, you know, like in meetings. So what's cool is, like, if you type in, for example, Don Draper on vacation, right? And you look at, where is it? Like this picture right here, right? You can see the haircut, the watch, the shirt. And if you look at Frank Kern, you can see the shirt, the glasses, the watch, right? So Frank basically is modern Don Draper, right? Now, Hollywood studios put a shit ton of money into this guy to make him likable. And a lot of men want to be him. So when Frank goes out there, you know, in his car or whatever, in his house doing it, what they see is they see Don Draper, and they can be part of it because this guy's telling them how they can be part of that, right? Kind of cool. Another great marketer. And by the way, like, these guys I'm mentioning are all great marketers, and you should learn from all of them. Really great guys, right? And so, like, this is Garrett White, phenomenal marketer, smart guy, right? But then if you look at this right here, you look at Fight Club, right? You can see that basically he is Tyler, like a modern version of Tyler Durden, right? Like haircut, demeanor, like compare that, right? Look at it, like everything, body type, everything, very similar, right? So when guys look at this, they're like, holy shit, it's Tyler Durden, and he's telling me how I can be like him, right? Then it's like we have our buddy here, Daniel Craig, you know, James Bond, right? So for example, this guy right here, right? And then this is actually Timothy Mark, really great marketer, right? And so look, who's this? Look at this little guru right here. It's interesting because, like, these guys are both, like, this guy, that's Nick. He's one of our clients. And I actually helped him get his first $25,000 sale year and a half ago, I think. But this is him, right? So if you compare Daniel Craig right here, look at that, right? Boom. And you look at him, it's like, holy shit. It's like the same guy, right? Just same everything, right? So what we do is we help you develop an archetype, right? And I'm too lazy to do an archetype for myself because, you know, I gained a little bit of weight because of COVID. I just got to lose weight and I got to put gel in my hair and do all this shit. I'm too lazy for it. But that's what you do, right? You create an archetype. And then once you present that archetype persona on screen, it becomes extremely powerful. Like people fucking respond to that like that, right? Now you pair that with a disruptive idea and you're cutting through all the noise, right? And how can this shift your market? Meaning like if your whole market uses it, does this move the market over? It displaces it. Then we focus on your system model framework, what the actual thing is to get people results, whatever. Your scoreboard progress, KPI, how do you measure progress, right? Sales, leads, ad spend, everything. We ask you for your brand assets. You know, that way help you brand better, look better, etc. We help you with credibility boosters. So like one of our guys, who was selling to gyms, he didn't have any success stories or nothing. He sold his gym and it was helping people. And then like we figured out like how to use like strategic news articles and stuff like that to help his credibility, and worked really well. What's your credibility? We help you with that, help you collect testimonials, get awards, help you generate case studies, all that stuff. And we help you with your trust factors, why people trust you. And then after all that, then we help you build a product, right? We help you, you know, we go and basically do the product lineup overview. We help you, you know, upsell one main product, done for you, all that shit, you know, your product, you know, book, report, supplement, whatever you want, you know, depending on each circumstance, your front end products, what the upgrades are. We help you with your upsells. And then we help you come up with your $5,000 to $10,000 program. We help you come up with your $25,000 to $50,000 program, and then help you figure out affiliate products and all that. And then voila. And then we just basically set you free, and then you go out there, run the offer, and then you are good to go. And that's why we have a 100% success rate of people that do work. People that don't do any work, zero success rate. So
hard to help them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. But yeah, so now you see like how this is different, right? And yeah, so people go through that, and then yeah, and then what ends up happening is like we do calls like Tuesday and Friday, right? Yeah, for 2 hours. They typically go for like 3 hours. And yeah, and then we have a Slack, right? So on Slack, everybody's on Slack, and we're not really with that program. We're not really in a group, and any questions you have, you know, we answer on Slack. We do the calls, and we do deep calls, like, you know, looking at the hook, looking at you know, we look at the hook, we look at the product, we name every single offer in our accelerator. I pretty much named myself. We name the offer. Come up with the upsells, help them tweak the copy, help them tweak the ads, help them tweak the Facebook, everything. Basically hold your hand until, you know, you're doing well. And yeah, that's what makes it different. Now, it's a lot of fucking work, I'll tell you. Like it's a ridiculous amount of work, and it's exhausting at times, but the payoff is huge to be able to have somebody text you, you know, on a Sunday and say, hey, you know, we just crossed $1 million mark thanks to your help. And that feels really good, you know. So we want more of that. Anyway, end of the pitch. And now we can go into the the fireside chat. If you guys want to be part of the accelerator, hit up Robert and we can talk. It's whatever. But yeah, let's go into the talking about the fireside chat, because you know.
Sure. Well, I've got to run soon, but are there any topics or questions or anything that anybody wants to share? We can dig into. And like Alan said, if you're interested in joining the accelerator, just send me a message on Facebook.
Yeah,
we can have a chat. But this was great. This was the first time we did this like this with you guys in the group, and we're definitely going to be doing more of it. But
yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like, I really like teaching this stuff and sharing this shit. It's like, it's just my passion. I love it. But yeah, it's good. I don't know. Let's talk about some stuff, right? So what's going on in the internet today? Basically, it's like you guys have access to the world, right? The world at your fingertips. And you know, one of the coolest things is like our best client, most successful student, right? He doesn't even create his own products. What he does, he goes on Instagram and, you know, YouTube, etc. He finds these people, they're experts. And then he sends them a Loom video, and then he basically publishes them. And that's like, he used to do 50-50, but I think now it's like 70-30. He keeps 70% of the money. And they basically build all the products and everything. He just uses all our templates. Literally, he just uses all our templates and ads and runs. And he's crushing it now, right? And so the cool thing is, like, you don't have to really go out there and create products or whatever. You can just find people who like that, you know, who like creating products, but they can't sell it. And I'll tell you this, though. There's a lot more people who have products and can't sell them than there are people that can't sell them. Like, people that actually sell products at scale is like a handful on the planet. And there's a whole lot of people that can actually create products, right? So what you want to do is you want to get good at selling the products, and then you have a highest leverage, you know?
Correct.
the other thing I want to talk about is like, when it comes to running ads, like there's this mythical idea that, all I got to do is get that, YouTube or Facebook trick or whatever, and then my offer will take off, right? And so, but that's not true, right? Because what ends up happening is like 90% of the success of your business is your offer, like maybe 95, and the Facebook and everybody else will like sort everything else for you, right? So whenever you guys see like agency guys on Facebook posting like, hey, we just sold 10,000 books for XY client, right? What really they're saying is, hey, this client has a really great offer that works with a sick phone team on the back, and we just kind of like configure the ads and kind of let Facebook algorithm do the work, right? But they're taking credit for it. So it's like kind of like a sleight of hand thing, right? And so a lot of people out there, because of this like little thing going on, don't focus on learning how to create offers. Instead, they're always like, oh, I just got to find a better way to Facebook. You're not going to trick Facebook. It's like you are dealing with the most complex algorithm in history ever created that has like 3 billion people interacting, and this thing is like crunching shit all day every day trying to figure out to optimize. Like you're not gonna figure it out. There's nothing to figure out, right? All you can do is build a sick offer, or focus on economics, and let it go. Same thing with us. Like we did the same thing. Like we built the offer, we put it up, we use our ad, so that ad in the book we give, it's like a $200,000 ad. We use the same exact ad, we put it up, and it's boom. It's like we ran $200-300 and it started catching. Like it just starts catching, and the pixel starts optimizing, and that's all you do is you just let it sit, and it sells itself. So focus on that, and then the other thing I think is really important is to figure out what you're good at, right? So a lot of guys out there are like, they're not naturally good at selling, they're not naturally good at copywriting, but they for some reason get an idea that like, if I just get good at copywriting or selling, I'm going to make this work. And that's a really bad strategy, because what ends up happening is like you get really good at a mediocre skill, right? Like you don't get really good at you get mediocre at a skill. You don't get really good at it, right? What you should do is like, and Robert can touch on this, is like we ourselves and like all our people in the accelerator, we make them take these personality tests, right? So I like to have guys take like wealth dynamics, and then Robert likes to take what's that one you like, Robert?
The one that Jordan Peterson has, it's called understandmyself.com. It's like the 5 big personality traits.
Oh, the other one. What is this? Clara knows.
There's a site called crystal.com, crystal.com. They have a bunch of different tests, and then they kind of compile it, and it's very much like not an in-depth report, but more like bullet points of like, Robert is energized by this, Robert hates doing this, and it's like all of them, they're like 80% accurate, but the more of them you take, the more self-awareness you gather, I find.
So my story with that is like in 2008 I built a membership site, right? And we were like doing about $400,000 a month. In 2008 it was pretty good, but I was miserable. I was fucking miserable. And I remember taking the Wealth Dynamics test, figuring out like what I'm good at, and just like leaving that business and focusing what I'm good at. And like I made millions and millions of dollars like next few years, like just basically focusing what I'm really good at. And what ends up happening is like, if you know yourself and what you're good at, then you can get really great at it, right? And so like, for example, like Jeff Bezos is like a logistical monster. Like he comes from Wall Street. He's very structured, right? So Amazon really works for him because that's a very structured business, right? That's like orderly and structured, right? Like Bezos wouldn't really do well in advertising, right? And some guys are really good at marketing and selling and advertising. They don't really do well in a structured business. So the biggest thing you can do to move the needle for yourself isn't like marketing, learning what we're talking about, any of that stuff. It's actually learning how your brain thinks, how it works, and then aligning everything to work on that. And that moves the needle. For you the most. And I think that's where the real power is. And that's one thing everybody here should do. Like before even considering joining the accelerator, before doing a book, put all that shit aside, take these personality tests. And I think that's going to be very, very helpful to most of you guys. And it's going to free you. Like a lot of the tension, stress, uncertainty, fatigue, being tired, not wanting to work on things. It'll fix all that instantly. It'll fix everything. And you guys will be like, where was this like 10 years ago,
Yeah, because we all have tasks that we just kind of do, right? And it just kind of flows. And then we have tasks that we have to like drag ourselves to do. And it's like a chore, And we want to be doing more of those things that just kind of come to us naturally, that we are good at, enjoy, want to get better at. And of course, in business, there's always things that you have to do that you don't want to do, but it goes beyond a certain level, or a certain point.
Yeah, exactly. So like for me personally, like if I don't have like a creative outlet, right? Like in my work, like to write copy or to create things, like I start to collapse. I constantly have to create things, kind of like push that boundary of creativity, et cetera, right? For some of you guys, like, it might be like you need to organize things. Some of you guys might be people, right? So it's like if you have, you might need people around you, you might need something like, so you need something around you. So you got to really figure that out, and everybody's different. And once you figure it out, it's really easy.
And boom, there you go. That's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something. In fact, if you'd like to go to the Facebook group and let us know just your biggest takeaway from the unannounced bonus, feel free to do so. Just go to the group and say, hey, my biggest takeaway from the unannounced bonus was blah, 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 blah. It's really cool and gets a little bit of engagement in the group. And we get to see sort of what's resonating so that we can do more of that. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Go out there, execute, and we'll talk soon. Ciao.